Welcome to Holistic Health with Melissa, a podcast for women who are ready to stop living in survival mode and start truly healing. I'm Melissa, a holistic trauma and anxiety coach, and here we talk about all things holistic healing for trauma, anxiety, and the nervous system. We blend science, scripture, and somatic work to help you regulate your body, renew your mind, and reconnect with the peace God designed for you to live in. If you're craving real healing, freedom from symptoms, and joy that reaches your mind, body, and spirit, you're in the right place. The foundations are always the foundations. Like, you cannot get results from pill bottles, whether they're supplements or prescriptions. You're not going to get the sustainable life-changing results that you're looking for from those bottles. You might feel a little bit better, but unless and until you address the foundations, you're kind of like swimming upstream. Hi, friend. Do you feel like you've done all the things? You've tried the therapy, the pills, the diets, and nothing seems to work? You have a great life, but something is still missing. You don't feel energized, alive, or free, but you know that you are called for something more. Then I want you to join me for the 3-day Mind Body Healing Workshop, where we'll blend science, scripture, and somatic work to heal your mind, body, and spirit for real this time. You'll step into whole body restoration, finding joy, freedom from symptoms, and freedom from the chains of trauma that have been holding you back. I cannot wait to see you there. Go to holistichealthbymelissa.com to sign up. Your life will never be the same. Welcome, everybody, to Holistic Health with Melissa. I'm so excited that you are here. We have a really special guest back with us for a part 2. Katie Kirklin, while nursing led her on incredible adventures around the world, including volunteering on a hospital ship in West Africa, working in a children's hospital in Australia, and traveling across the United States. Katie's true passion always pulled her towards a preventative approach to health that she couldn't find in a job description. After years of navigating her own health struggles, including gut issues, anxiety, and disordered eating, Katie discovered functional nutrition, an approach that emphasizes personalized root cause healing through nourishing food. Katie now focuses solely on functional nutrition, helping clients achieve transformative health results, combining her passion for preventative care with her expertise in functional health. She's dedicated to helping others experience lasting wellness through sustainable healing. Thank you so much for being here, Katie. I'm so excited to dive into part 2 of our interview.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be back, Melissa.
Yeah, so Katie was on back episode 49 was her first part, and we talked so much about like nutrition and gut health and her own personal journey in nursing and her own struggles with disordered eating and like how that came about. So super powerful stuff. Go back and listen to episode 49 to check that out. But today we're going to talk still about obviously health, and we're gonna unpack a lot of the foundational aspects of health that people really aren't, like, traditional doctors aren't talking about, and people are struggling to grasp these concepts. And I want to be clear, like, the foundations are always the foundations. Like, you cannot get results from pill bottles, whether they're supplements or prescriptions. You're not going to get the sustainable life-changing results that you're looking for from those bottles. You might feel a little bit better, but unless and until you address the foundations, you're kind of like swimming upstream, so to speak, I think. So Katie, I'm so excited to dive in. We were talking before we started recording about the non-negotiable trifecta. So can you tell us kind of what that is and speak to those foundations?
Yeah. So the non-negotiable trifecta is really just this foundational trifecta of sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance. And these are things that we have to address with every single client, every single person we work with. Um, if we're not addressing them, number one, we're missing out on a ton of opportunity to help them feel better. But for some people, addressing these things can completely resolve the issues that they're dealing with, and they may not require expensive testing or supplements. It may just require a little bit of of paying attention, and really focusing on the importance of um, these foundational things: sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance. Yeah,
Yes.
so
I think so many people um they don't realize how impactful those foundational aspects of health really are, right? So
yeah.
I want to dive into the first one that we started talking about is sleep. So tell us kind of like why is it so hard for people to get good sleep, and how does that or the lack of sleep impact our overall health?
Yeah. Yeah. Sleep is so huge. Like if I'm working with a client and, they come to me with all these complaints and I find out they're only getting maybe 5 hours of sleep a night, we are absolutely starting there. I'm not even going to look at food. Like sleep is number one. Um, I I heard recently where, when it comes to survival, you can only go a couple minutes without air, so many days without water. And then what comes next is not food, but it's sleep. And I think that just really highlights the importance of sleep. It's even more important than food. Um, and so sleep plays a critical role in regulating cortisol, melatonin, and insulin sensitivity, which all ties in to poop and also blood sugar balance. So these three non-negotiables really are so interconnected, because hormonal regulation happens during sleep. Poor sleep can lead to elevated cortisol and insulin, which can also impact like estrogen balance. Melatonin, which is produced during sleep, helps regulate the body's circadian rhythm, and it also has antioxidant properties that help protect against oxidative stress. Um, and then sleep is also just so critical for processing nutrients, processing emotions, and processing hormones for detoxification. And so it's it when we're not getting enough sleep, it really it really makes it so much more difficult to feel better and to address any other health issues.
Yeah, so important. I love that you mentioned that sleep is even more important than food, because I completely agree with that. And people will come to me, yeah, sleeping 5 hours a night, and they're like, but like, let's talk about my macros. And I'm like, no, we're not talking about your macros if you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. In your experience and in your practice and personally and professionally, and then in what you're seeing in clients and what you've learned, what do you think that the biggest barriers are to people getting good sleep?
Oh, I think some of it is, just this go, go, go lifestyle that we live in. Um, so many people are high achievers and they just think they can deprioritize sleep over other things. I think work is probably one of the biggest barriers to sleep for a lot of people. They're going to bed late, they're getting up early to work. Um, of course, other things like social life. Depending on your season of life, there can be a lot of different things. For some people, it might be kids keeping them up, and hopefully that's a temporary phase. Um, but I mean, life can definitely it can be really challenging. But what we can control, it is so important that we that we control it if we can when it comes to sleep. I know for me, I have two little kids, a almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and it is so tempting for me to stay up late once they're asleep because I'm like, oh, finally adult time, like time to myself. But I know I'm going to feel so much better the next day if I, get a little time to myself, and time with my husband, and then really prioritize getting to sleep. When I don't, and when I decide to stay up late watching a TV show or something, I always feel it the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, so so important. People just don't understand. And I heard recently, um I think it's like if you get less than 7 hours of sleep a night consistently, you're actually like shortening your life by 10 years. I think was the statistic that I heard, which is just mind blowing. Like that just to me, I'm like, wow, well, that's even more important than I thought. Like, I personally don't want to live 10 years less. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be around for my kids and my grandkids as long as possible, right?
Yeah.
Um, you talked about the relationship between cortisol and melatonin, and I would love to hear you kind of talk more about that specifically.
Yeah. Well, so actually, I would love to kind of transition over into talking about blood sugar balance and this hormone hierarchy, um, this visual that I use. Because when we think about blood sugar balance as one of those non-negotiable trifecta, it is just so foundational to overall hormone balance, and we can't regulate our cortisol well without a solid foundation of blood sugar balance. So if we imagine a pyramid and we have blood sugar balance as the foundation, then next is insulin and how blood sugar balance impacts insulin. Insulin impacts cortisol. Cortisol impacts thyroid hormones, and thyroid hormones impact our sex hormones. And so everything is just so interconnected. And so when we're not regulating blood sugar, that is impacting our insulin regulation. Um, and and it all is just, you can think of it as that's the foundation that we have to build upon, or if we invert the pyramid and think of it as a cascade where everything is sort of falling down to the next one. Um, but essentially when it comes to sleep, we need, if our hormones are out of balance, we really need that solid foundation with blood sugar to enable, for a good circadian rhythm and good melatonin production.
Yeah, I love that you said that and like the importance of blood sugar is not really fully understood by the general public, I think. And that's kind of that's where I was getting was like under helping people understand that like your sex hormones, because I hear this a lot. I was sharing with you before we were starting to record that like people come to me a lot with like, oh, I have my sex hormones are imbalanced, or like my estrogen, I have estrogen dominance. And I'm like, but what are we doing before that? Right? Because
Yeah,
estrogen dominance is a symptom of something. Like imbalanced sex hormones are not ever the root cause. Your sex hormones just don't become imbalanced for like no reason. Like that's not the root cause. The root cause is something prior to that, which ultimately, like what you're sharing with this hormone hierarchy, is this idea of blood sugar balance. So tell us, like, what is blood sugar regulation, and like how do we get that? How do we achieve that?
yeah, yeah. I would say the number one tip for helping someone to regulate their blood sugar is to eat protein, fat, and fiber at every meal or snack. Um, we might have talked a little bit about the blood sugar roller coaster in our last conversation. Um, but in order to help reduce the blood sugar spike that someone might experience when they eat like a really carby food or a lot of sugar is to buffer it with protein, fat, and or fiber. Ideally, all three. So that's like the biggest number one tip. I would also recommend always eating breakfast within an hour of waking is going to be really important for setting a really strong foundation for the rest of the day for blood sugar balance. Um, and then I also always love to tell people to just be prepared. I know we talked about that last time, the importance of taking a little time to plan ahead and be prepared with healthy snacks, especially when you're on the go and you're not sure, what's going to be available. Just packing protein, fat, fiber rich snacks to take with you.
So what happens metabolically, or like how does not eating breakfast change your blood sugar throughout the day?
Yeah, well, if you skip breakfast, your body well, let's say you skip breakfast, but you drink a coffee. That's going to cause your cortisol to spike because when you have caffeine on an empty stomach, it causes cortisol to spike. And now your body is in the state of fight or flight. Um, and and when cortisol is spiking, insulin is now spiking, and it really backfires because we need we need healthy insulin release and use to regulate cortisol. And so it just kind of creates this vicious cycle. Um, so by eating first thing in the morning, protein, fat, and fiber rich breakfast, we are helping to keep that cortisol at a healthy level. We need some cortisol in the morning to get going for the day, but we don't want it spiking too much and subsequently causing a crash in energy and in blood sugar, which then sets someone on that roller coaster, the blood sugar roller coaster, where they get jittery, maybe hangry, they're reaching for a sweet snack. And they're having extreme cravings. It just makes it so much harder to navigate the day from an energy perspective and also from just like a healthy eating perspective. Because when we're on that blood sugar roller coaster, it's a lot harder to get off of it and to feel balanced and to make sound, healthy decisions moving forward throughout the day.
Yeah, I think that so many women don't eat breakfast because they are like, oh, like I'm intermittent fasting, or oh, I'm just not hungry. What do you say to women who say I'm just not hungry in the morning?
Yeah, you have to train your body. If you've been intermittent fasting for a really long time, it is going to take a little bit of reintroduction and training. And so you might not be able to have a very big breakfast starting out, but your body will adjust over time. And you don't want to be fasting for too long because it puts the body into a state of stress and then it just starts holding on to fat and it's really going to work against and this is specifically for women. It may be different for men, but it really can be working against goals, especially if someone's trying to lose weight, because the body is in a state of stress and it's holding on to things rather than having that safety to release fat and to let go.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about this in our last conversation, and this is not the primary focus of today's conversation, but that is something that I see with women is like women, I don't know why, but like so many women chronically undernourish their body. And like when you're intermittent fasting, or even if you're not intermittent fasting, but you're just even eating like just like a protein bar and then like something small for lunch and then something small for dinner, like even if you're eating regularly, you're undernourishing your body is doing the exact same thing that you were just describing, which is like putting your body in this state of fight or flight where you're not going to be able to, your body doesn't feel safe enough to release the weight. Right. So that's why like women will come to me like, oh, I just have this, I want to lose 20 pounds. I just can't lose weight. And it's like, well, it's actually because you're eating like 1100 calories. Like
Right,
your
right.
body cannot feel safe to lose weight at that calorie level.
Yeah. I think as women, we have so much unlearning to do when it comes to calories. I know growing up, dieting,
Yep.
I always thought the magic number was like 1,200 calories. And so to intentionally be eating like 18 to 2,200 calories that a lot of women actually need, it can sound really scary because I know if someone had told me like 15 years ago, hey, start eating 2,000 calories a day, I would have said, you're
You're crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I will never intentionally eat that much. Um, but
We're like, my body doesn't need that much.
yeah, yeah. But it, so I think we all as women have a lot of unlearning to do. And it's not something we're going to do overnight. I've heard the concept of reverse dieting, where women slowly add more calories over time. Um, and I think I love that that exists and that there are coaches and, nutritionists out there doing that specific work, helping women like recreate that safety with their bodies and with food and with the concept of calories too.
Yeah, so powerful. That is powerful work. And we all need to be properly nourishing our bodies so that we can balance, like you're saying, like balance your blood sugar and ultimately eventually up the pyramid, balance the sex hormones, balance our thyroid hormones, all of the other things that are going to contribute to our health. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I'd love
exactly.
to,
Oh, I was just gonna say, what you were mentioning before when someone comes to you saying, "Hey, my hormones are out of bounds, my sex hormones." It's amazing how often when we negotiate or when we address this non-negotiable trifecta of sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance, how often those sex hormone issues resolve themselves, and we never even have to do super targeted sex hormone like specific interventions.
yeah, so true. Because the body is designed to balance and heal, and
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about us, right? It's like God did not make a mistake in the way he created us. So I'd
Yeah.
love to switch gears a little bit and talk about that third pillar of that non-negotiable trifecta, which is what personally I am most excited about. And
Yeah.
that is poop. So tell
Yeah.
us all the things about
Yeah.
poop. Nobody wants to talk about this, but we're talking about it.
As a nurse, I feel like maybe it's my duty to
Yeah.
like, no pun intended,
Yeah.
to talk about poop. But it is so foundational and so important. And when we're not talking about it, it is such an opportunity missed to help someone feel so much better very quickly. But it is our number one form of detoxification. It's critical for hormone balance, reducing inflammation, and just overall gut health. Um, and when we think about poop, we want to be thinking about overall gut health and just digestion in general. So we think about the liver too and its role in detoxification. The liver flushes out toxins and dumps them into the intestines for elimination. And if we're not pooping daily, those toxins are sitting in the colon and can be reabsorbed into the bloodstream and making someone literally feel like poop. So if you've ever been constipated, you know how crappy you feel. And that's
You're
because
full of puns today.
I, I, I can't avoid them. It's too easy. But it's because you are literally recirculating toxins in your bloodstream. So it's no wonder you don't feel well when you're constipated. Um, but I always think it's important to talk about, what a healthy poop is, what it looks like, and also to talk about how often you should be pooping. And number one, you should be pooping daily, if not multiple times daily, maybe 1 to 3 times is ideal. Um, a healthy poop also should be medium brown in color, and the color can vary based on what you've eaten or medications, but generally it should be medium brown. It should be soft and formed, like a soft serve ice cream, not too hard, not too loose. It should pass in one piece or a few smaller pieces. Um, we can also use the Bristol stool chart, which in nursing we use all the time.
Yeah.
So it should be a
Like Bristol
three.
number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. 3 to 4 on the Bristol stool chart is ideal. One would be severe constipation, one would be severe diarrhea. So right in the middle of that range. Food should be fully digested, or not food. Poop should be there should be no undigested food in stool, with the exception of some things like seeds or corn that we might see occasionally. But I would also say if someone is regularly having undigested food in their stool, we might want to be thinking about, going back up to the top and thinking, are they chewing their food well enough? Are they eating too fast? What is their stomach acid doing? Are they able to fully break down their food? So, um, I love to think of food as like a daily health report where you can gain so much insight about what is going on in your body just by looking at your poop. And then the last thing I like to mention about a healthy poop is that it should pass easily without strain and not take longer than 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, what are some tips for helping women get regular bowel movements?
Yeah. There's a lot. And of course it's going to vary from each individual, but there are those foundations. And one is looking at hydration. Um, it's so important for elimination and good detoxification. I always say aim for half your body weight in ounces per day of water. If you're drinking caffeine, you should be increasing that a little bit. If you're sweating a lot or working out, you should be increasing that some.
Or
But that's kind
sick?
of yeah, you're sick. Yeah. That's kind of a good rule of thumb as a starting point. So I would say hydration would be number one. Are you drinking enough water? Of course, we're going to be thinking about fiber intake, um, aiming for 25 to 35 grams of fiber. If someone's really below that, then gradually increasing their fiber intake over time. Um, some some plant different types of fiber. There's soluble, which dissolves in water and forms a gel-like substance. And then there's insoluble, which adds bulk to stool. So we want a little bit of both. But if you're eating lots of plant-based foods, you're going to be getting a combination of both of those. Um, I always like to talk about flax seeds as kind of a superfood. They feed our good gut bacteria, and they also act as a gentle bulk laxative. So ground flaxseed can actually be helpful for someone whether they're dealing with constipation or diarrhea. And they also help to eliminate as harmful estrogens. So they're kind of a superfood when it comes to detox. Um, and then something else, another tip is just kind of thinking about the microbiome of the gut. Um, and really, the number one thing for feeding the microbiome is thinking about eating a rainbow of whole foods, of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains. Because when we're eating a rainbow of those different plant fibers, it ensures that we're getting different these different properties that feed different strains of the healthy gut bacteria. So diversity is just so important. And so just thinking about eating a rainbow can really help with that. Another thing so important is reducing stress and slowing down. And I know that's easier said than done, but even just a brief pause before eating, whether that's a prayer or just a moment to pause and and have a moment of gratitude or just to look at your food and smell it before you start eating can make such a difference for digestion and subsequently elimination. Digestion really begins in the brain. Um, and so when we take that moment to pause and then also to slowly eat our food, chew more intentionally, that can really impact digestion. And then, of course, we talked about sleep and the importance of that with detoxification and elimination. And then something else I love to talk about that's just so practical is thinking about incorporating pooping into your daily routine. Make it a habit. If your daily routine does not allow you time to poop and you're constipated, like that kind of makes sense because you're not giving your body that space and that time to feel the safety that you need to be able to release. Um, and then I would say the last thing is making sure you're moving your body, exercise, even just walking. We talk about this in nursing when we're, working in the hospital and someone's not pooping. It's like get them up, get them walking. It is so important for keeping the bowels moving.
Yeah, those are such good tips. And I think it's like things that people know, but they have trouble actually implementing them. And I think
Yeah.
so much of this, my personal opinion is like so much of this goes back to what you said about the one of the biggest barriers to getting good sleep, which is this go 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 kind of culture that we live in, right? Like I think personally that is the biggest barrier to health across the board
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's people don't know how to slow down anymore. Like we've gotten so packed, like our schedules are so packed that you're telling people like to put pooping into your schedule. Like that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
If your schedule is so tight that we have to like think about actually like putting poop into your schedule, like your schedule is too tight. Like that's a problem.
Yeah.
There needs to be white space. There needs to be time to like decompress and um relax and not relaxing to me. I don't believe relaxing is like scrolling on your phone and sitting in front of the television. Like relaxing is like not doing anything, like just allowing yourself to just be. Like when's the last time I sat outside on my porch on Easter Sunday for a multiple hours without my phone, just sitting? Like I had a book at one point, but like I literally spent, I'd say probably 2 solid hours on Easter Sunday in the afternoon, just sitting and watching the trees and the birds flying around and just enjoying the sunshine. It was so beautiful here in Colorado. And listening to my kids play. Like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't writing. I wasn't reading. I wasn't scrolling my phone. I wasn't listening to music. I was just being, just existing. And that like white space, I think is one of, if not the most powerful things that I personally have implemented in my own life is like making sure I have that white space of just being.
Yeah, absolutely. That allowing yourself that white space it is foundational to letting your body feel safety, you know? Um, and when we think about, I know we talked a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how physiological safety is at the foundation. And even if we are physically safe, sometimes our nervous system doesn't recognize that we're physically safe, and giving it that space to just be present and to take in your environment and be present in your relationships can help to create so much safety in your body and with your nervous system.
Yeah. So going back to the poop talk, and you said, you mentioned like poop is our most powerful way of detoxing, right? It's our number one way to detox. And you also mentioned that it can help us get rid of excess estrogen. I'd love to talk about that specifically. And like I said, I hear from women like, oh, my hormones are imbalanced or I have estrogen dominance. Can we talk specifically about how poop relates to hormones?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. The gut is in this two-way conversation with the endocrine system. And when we look specifically at the gut microbiome, there is a subset of bacteria called the estrobolome that has a direct impact on hormone balance. The more I learn about the gut microbiome, it is just so fascinating, and I'm so excited as the science is just taking off with this. Um, but the estrobolome specifically helps regulate estrogen levels in the body because this set of bacteria produce an enzyme called beta glucuronidase, which is responsible for regulating how much estrogen is broken down and eliminated from the body and how much is reabsorbed and recirculated. So if we have too much beta glucuronidase, that can lead to this recirculation and recycling of these dirty estrogens, we call them, and that can lead to estrogen dominance. And if we have too little beta glucuronidase, it can lead to low estrogen. Um, and the estrobolome is really influenced, and also the microbiome as a whole, of course, is influenced by, what we're eating and lifestyle factors, genetics, and of course, stress, like we were just talking about. And of course, also medications like antibiotics can influence the gut microbiome and specifically the estrobolome. Um, and then if we also just thinking about gut health a little bit more, also thinking about the lining of the gut, and the health of the gut lining is really important. So we know that the gut lining is selectively permeable, and that acts like a filter, controlling what substances enter the bloodstream. And it's designed to allow for beneficial substances like nutrients, water, and electrolytes to enter the bloodstream, and to keep out harmful substances like toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles. But when the gut lining becomes damaged, what we call leaky gut, it becomes more permeable, and that can lead to harmful substances, including food particles or other toxins, crossing the intestinal wall and entering the bloodstream. And this can lead to a systemic inflammatory response, which can lead to elevated cortisol levels, which further impacts our sex hormones and can worsen symptoms of like PMS or perimenopause or menopause. Um, and so, and that kind of creates a vicious cycle. When we have systemic inflammation, that can then worsen the integrity of the gut lining. And so it really is kind of like a chicken and the egg situation. But ultimately, it just shows how downstream sex hormone issues are, where we
Right.
really need to be thinking upstream, looking at what's going on with the gut. Are we pooping daily? Um, are we sleeping to allow the body to detox? And um, so yeah, everything is connected, and hormones are, or sex hormones specifically, issues with that are kind of like the the last thing that we would address because there's so much work we can do from a foundational standpoint, upstream.
Right. And sex hormones are never the root cause. I think I already said that, but it's like your sex
Yeah.
hormones don't just imbalance like for no reason. Like there's so many things. You are designed to be balanced. Like obviously there's natural changes that happen with age, but like your hormones are your body is created to return to homeostasis, which is a balance. And your hormones are no different. If there are things upstream that are creating a block in that homeostasis, in that balance, then that's where you want to address, spend the time to address. You don't want to just go get started on HRT or, hormone any other sort of like hormone therapy, like you want to address the root cause so that your body can just restore to natural balance. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah. That's why when, in your teens, if your doctor put you on birth control to help control your PMS symptoms, and then you've been on birth control for 15, 20 years, you come off of it, your PMS symptoms come right back. It's because the root causes were never addressed. It was a band-aid fix. And unfortunately, those underlying causes have just been stewing this whole time.
Yeah, so powerful. And this is like from a perspective of like, I mean, I approach this work as like I want women, people, but obviously you and I both work primarily with women, but like I want women to feel empowered to understand what is going on with their body so that they can make the best decision that they want, because I don't think doctors are bad, but I don't think that traditionally trained doctors get the education necessary to actually help people thrive. I was just having
Yeah,
this conversation earlier, is like doctors are trained to treat symptoms with medications,
yeah,
period. Like, and most doctors in traditional medicine, that's their approach because that's what they were trained to do. And you can't fault them. Most of them are good people, but like they're working in a system that is broken, right? So like when we can return, like I said at the very beginning of this conversation, is like the foundational aspects of health are always the foundations: sleep, stress, nutrition, blood sugar balance, poop. I know you said the trifecta, but there's like,
yeah.
there's like
There's
so
more.
many,
There's
there's
more
so many
foundations. Yeah.
foundations like that you can address. Like if you are having symptoms and you're like, oh, like, why do I have this? Ask yourself, like, really, truly be honest with yourself. How well are you moving your body? How often are you moving your body? How much water are you drinking? How much alcohol are you drinking? How much protein are you eating? Are you eating enough fiber? Are you prioritizing sleep? Are you prioritizing white space in your calendar? Are you letting yourself rest? Are you pooping every day? Are you carving out time in your schedule to poop? Are you balancing your blood sugar? Are you starting the day on coffee? Like there's I mean, that's just 10 things. I could like be honest with yourself and ask yourself, like, what am I truly in control of? And what am I letting, like, you know, uh, um, what's the word? Putting my control, letting my control be out external to me, right? That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't find it right now. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're letting other, something outside hold your power, that's not going to get you health. Like
Mhm.
you have everything, your body is designed to heal.
Yes. Yes.
Hear
Paying
me.
attention. I always say, I say one of the most important things is to just pay attention to your body. What your body is telling you is data, and listen to that.
Yeah.
Because you can learn so much about your health and what your body needs by just listening to your body. And one of the best ways to do that, or one of the easiest ways to really, be able to get as much of an objective look at what's going on with your body is to keep some sort of a food journal where you're writing down what you're eating, how your body is feeling throughout the day, and also looking at your poop. You can learn so much. I remember when I was in high school, I would get a headache every single day, and I just thought it was totally normal. It like never occurred to me that I shouldn't be getting a headache every day. Like I would leave the house and I would always bring ibuprofen with me. I thought as a 16-year-old that was normal. And then I gave up soda just kind of like randomly and just like as a challenge. And my headaches disappeared. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that I could be headache free. I just thought that was me. And it just like never occurred to me that that wasn't normal and that there was another way, like
Yeah.
that another way was possible. I just thought, oh, I just get a headache every day. That's just who I am. And then they disappeared, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I guess drinking soda was clearly not working for my body." But
Right.
I did
And that
not.
was the symptom that your body was alerting you to, but you didn't
Yeah.
notice it.
Yeah, I didn't recognize. I couldn't make the connection on my own, and it just never occurred to me that that would be causing those headaches. And so just it can be really hard, but keeping a journal and just, taking a step back and asking yourself, like, is this symptom that I'm experiencing, maybe it's energy dips in the afternoon or brain fog or anxiety or insomnia, like is whatever you're experiencing, even if it's your norm, may not necessarily be normal, and it might be your body trying to talk to you and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, listen, like let's take a step back and see, look at those foundations
Yeah.
and see what can we do to support the body."
Yeah, so good. There was one other question about sleep that I wanted to ask you that I got off track, but what are some tips specifically related to sleep that women can try to help get themselves better sleep? What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, I would say I mean, number one is look at sleep hygiene. Like, is your room dark? Is your room cool? Is it quiet? Also thinking about, are you looking at a screen before bed, or are you reading a stressful email before bed? Just these small changes. Even if you can't fully avoid screens, wearing blue light blocking glasses can make a huge difference, or getting red lights in your room instead of these lights that emit blue light. And the reason blue light is such a problem is because it mimics daylight. And that can impact our brain thinks it's daylight, and so it messes with our circadian rhythm, and then it makes it much more difficult for us to get a good night's sleep. Um, so really planning for non-screen time to relax before bed is huge. And I feel like we're all just in this, we're on our phones all the time, we're watching TV, and it can feel uncomfortable to for someone to tell you to make that change. But even if you just try it, try it for a few days and just see if it makes a difference. Um, but if you can't avoid the screen, the blue light blocking glasses can be so helpful too. But also, if someone is waking up in the night, I often think about blood sugar dips. So having a protein-rich snack right before bed, I call it a protein bolus. Just a little bit of even just a couple bites of protein before bed can help steady the blood sugar throughout the night. Because if the blood sugar dips, then the body is like, oh no, it thinks you're dying. So it spikes cortisol and that wakes you up. Um, and then, of course, that cortisol spike could then create racing thoughts and all these other issues. And so, having just a healthy, protein rich snack before bed can really help stabilize the blood sugar and get you through the night. Um,
What do you
but
recommend for that for a protein
uh,
bolus?
yeah, I mean, it could be anything, just like a couple bites of meat, maybe leftover from dinner, or a little bit of Greek yogurt. I always love a little bit of Greek yogurt with some collagen powder in it. Like I use chocolate collagen. It's just a tasty little treat. Um, even a small protein shake, like just with some milk. I do almond milk, and I will mix like a little bit of protein powder and drink that sometimes if I feel like I need a little something before bed. But I mean, literally just eating a couple bites of meat can be a great option.
So good. So many good tips and tricks. And thank you so much, Katie, for just being here and again sharing your expertise and um, yeah, all the things.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was great to see you again and to have this conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. Leave me a review. Help us get this movement out. Like you have the power inside of you. You can change your life. You can transform your health. the power is within you. It's not external. It is all within you, and you can have the life that you dream of. You can have the health and the life and the love and the self-confidence that you dream of. It is right within your reach. And these foundational tips are the first step. So this is not just a message, it is a movement. Help me share the movement. Share this podcast, send it to a friend, leave us a review. Go follow Katie. All of her stuff will be in the podcast description, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Holistic Health with Melissa. It is such an honor to have you here. If you found value in today's episode, would you share it with a friend who might need it too and leave us a review? If you have questions or topic suggestions, reach out on social media or visit our website, holistichealthbymelissa.com, and take care. I'll catch you on the next episode.